unstoppable kick-ass confidence. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Raw and Unscripted Show with Christopher Rausch, where we help you overcome your self-created crap without the self-help fluffy bullshit. Now please welcome our host, Christopher Rausch.
Welcome your host, Christopher Rausch. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the Rockstar Kick-Ass Nation. It is I, Christopher Rausch, your No Excuses coach, back here for another episode of the Raw Unscripted Show, where we help you give up. We help you give up. That's the whole point of life, right? Is to give up. So oftentimes we fight and we push and we strive and we have these dreams and these goals, but I'm here to tell you guys to give up. Like, let it go. I've realized more in the last couple of years, really, that why bother? Why do we bother trying? Why do we bother going for it? This show has been a complete farce, talking about how you can eliminate your excuses and gain results. I mean, what the fuck is that? I mean, come on, let's just be lazy and complacent and mediocre and blend in with everybody else and die with regrets. That's the juice of life. So thank you guys for joining me here, whether it's live on the video cast or on the audio podcast in one of any 30 plus countries. We're a top 10% rated podcast globally. So thank you guys all so much for tuning in to the hypocrisy that is motivation, right? Tonight's show is all about, let's get real. Let's get real. What's up, Robert Broker? Thank you so much, buddy. Let's get real about motivation, because you know, the things I've talked about here on the show are, when I look back at them, pretty ridiculous, right? Like, to fight for what's right and what's fair, and to risk for which that mattered, and to leave the earth a better place for who we are and what we do. What kind of crap is that? I mean, how about let's just be lazy and complacent and blame and give up? Because, you know, the truth of it is, it all leads up to something, and then we die. So really, why do we try so hard? Why do we set goals? Why do we stay in shape? Why do we try to be nice to other people? Why do we talk better to ourselves? I mean, that's what the show's about tonight. The show tonight is really about getting honest with life. And so what I'm going to do with you guys is I'm going to walk you through my coaching program and how I coach, but we're going to put a different twist on it tonight. And perhaps maybe the way I say it tonight is the way that you need to hear it. So thank you guys for being here. What's up, Mr. Robert Broker in the house? I'm getting a warning sign here on my podcast software when streaming to a profile, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, appreciate you guys being here tonight. Holy crap, it's April. Can you believe that? 3 months have already passed of 2025. And I'm guessing that you started off the year saying you were going to accomplish a lot of stuff. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to increase my income. I'm going to improve my relationships. I'm going to stop tolerating shit. How's that working out for you? How's that working out for you, ladies and gentlemen? Is it working? Is it doing what you need it to do for you? So let's just jump right into it. I don't want to waste any time, because I feel like this is going to be a super impactful episode. And so the way I coach is I have this diagram, which I'm going to share with you guys who are watching right now. You guys can watch this. So I encourage you to go check it out. But I have what's called, and please don't take this the wrong way, but I call it a genius diagram. And in it, it walks me through the process of what I can teach you guys to have a kick-ass life. But tonight's spin is going to be a little bit different. So we start here in the middle, which is called the Kick-Ass Guide to Life. And for you guys listening, it is a Venn diagram. And so in the middle of this Venn diagram, you guys know the Venn diagram, all the circles joined together. In the middle, we have the Kick-Ass Guide to Life, which is living an amazing life, right? We have purpose, we have mindset mastery, we have no excuses that take up that what it is to make up that kick-ass life. And then the quadrants outside of that, we have commitment, right? Commitment, results, passion, fulfillment. The other quadrant, we have accountability, which is certainty, significance, and legacy. And in the final quadrant, we have responsibility, which is being a victim or being a victor, having discipline, or having integrity with your life. So I'm not going to keep this up for the entire duration, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about this in a different way, right? So oftentimes I'm very positive and uplifting and motivational and all that good stuff. But sometimes you just get tired of that. You just get tired of being the rah-rah guy. You get tired of being the guy that's always pushing and striving and everything else. So let's explore the idea of being complacent. Let's explore. Let's just go with this, right? Let's blame other people for our problems, because I think that's healthy. I think that's really healthy. I think it's healthy to blame people for your problems, right? When you think about it, why not blame our parents? They're the ones that raised us, right? It's not like that we have free will after we're not, under the roof anymore. It's not like we have free will when we're adults to choose differently. So why not spend our entire lives blaming our parents? Because that takes the responsibility off of us. How freeing is that? I've talked so many years about accepting responsibility for yourself. We're going to talk about it here in just a second. But how about we just blame everybody, right? Let's blame the government. The government's fault why I'm not happy. It's my ex-wife's fault why I'm not happy. It's the kid in school. It's their fault. They bullied me that I'm not happy. Right? Then we don't have to take responsibility. We don't have to do anything about it. We can sit there and say, you know what? The reason why I overeat, the reason why I drink, the reason why I take pills, the reason why I shop, the reason why I'm a gambler, the reason why, and we can easily identify it's because of that person, right? It's because of Joshua in the 3rd grade who said those mean things to me. That's why I'm fucked up. And then what do we get to do? We get to live our life being miserable and being complacent and being a victim, right? So usually what I talk about in this opportunity for us to become better people is I talk about having a purpose. But perhaps having a purpose is exhausting, right? Having a single reason why you're alive and identifying that as your fuel to get you through those hard times. I don't know. Maybe the purpose is just to have a good fucking time, right? So oftentimes we're busting and we're grinding and we're getting in the paint, as my friend Walt says. But maybe our purpose is to get to the end of our life and go, shit, I'm glad I was a screw up. Shit, I'm glad that I blamed everybody else. Shit, I'm glad that I didn't do anything for myself. I'm glad that I never rose to my potential. Maybe that's the whole thing about life. Maybe that's our purpose. Maybe our purpose is just to sit here and coast through it and blame and be a victim rather than taking responsibility for our actions and our words and the things that we're going to do. What's up, Robert? He says, blame everyone. A revolutionary concept, right? I mean, let's think about that. I think it's a lot easier. I usually don't blame people, but perhaps now we should blame people, right? It takes the worry off of us. Like, I don't have to accept the responsibility for my actions. I don't have to accept the responsibility of what I learn and what I try. I could just blame my parents or blame society or blame my race or blame my religion, whatever it might be. And then I could just sit there and coast and just cruise, right? So the first thing here is we're going to talk about is ditch your purpose, right? Forget about your purpose. I mean, your purpose obviously is to survive and to eat food and procreate and have a good time. But maybe your purpose doesn't have to be so huge. Maybe your purpose doesn't have to be like mine was, to make a difference in the world and to be known for being, the guy that survived and thrived through so many tragic situations and terrible situations to become a great guy. Maybe my purpose is just to get on here and look good and say something articulate so that you guys like me and that I can continue to grow the show. Maybe that's my purpose, right? Maybe we don't have to get deep and metaphysical on things. At the end of the day, we're going to die. People are going to show up to our funeral and say shit, and then they're going to forget about us. So really, why do we try so hard? Why do we try to validate ourselves? What do you think, Robert? Robert says here also, it goes, a favored song memory has been triggered, The Distance by Cake. That's good. I never liked Cake. Was never into it, but I dig music. So thank you for sharing that. I'll have to go back and revisit that. So the other aspect about life that I teach about is mindset mastery. It's like being able to be in control of your mind. But what if that is just completely overrated? What about having mindset mastery is exhausting? And maybe that's the thing that's taking us away from the true opportunity that we have to be the victim that we are. Right? I think traditionally we're more victims than we are victors because that takes more work. And so maybe when we're thinking about mindset mastery, maybe the mindset mastery is in letting go. Maybe it's not giving a fuck, right? Why should I strive in my job? I'm just going to make more money. I'm just going to spend more money. I'm just going to have more bills. maybe working a minimum hour, minimum wage job, tossing fries. Maybe that's the key to success. Maybe that's the key to success. Maybe striving and pushing ourselves to become the better version of ourselves isn't really what it's all cracked up to be. And so when I think about that, I think about life in terms of excuses. And the whole goal used to be for us to eliminate our excuses, to downsize our excuses. But maybe if we increase the amount of excuses we have, maybe the happier we'll be, right? I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough knowledge. Even though there is Google and YouTube and ChatGPT, maybe it's easier for me to say I don't have the knowledge because I have to type it in for myself. And then I have to do it for myself. And then I have to learn the hard way. So maybe by having excuses, I could take it a little bit easier on myself and not be so hard on myself and not to strive to be better than everybody else. Maybe with my excuses, I can sleep in a little bit longer. I can eat more bad food. I can be happier, right? Who wants to be healthy and live a long life and to make an impact in the world when you could just be lazy and complacent and forgetful and you can sit there and say, you know what, Chris, I didn't do it this year. I couldn't figure out, I didn't have enough time. Right? That's a good excuse. I don't have time. I'm busy, Chris. Right? I tell people now, I'm real busy. Like, I don't have time to learn and read books and to be a better dad and to be a better communicator. I don't have time. I'm fucking busy cleaning the floors. I'm busy taking care of the dog. I'm busy, washing windows. I'm busy cleaning the ceiling fan. The ceiling fan has to be cleaned. God damn it. And so maybe that's the reason. If I could focus on my excuse, then I don't have to take that responsibility, which I think we keep going back to. It's pretty interesting in that. Having a why. Exactly, Robert. Why? Why do we have to have a why? I've been having a why for most of my life. And you know what? It's not all what it's cracked up to be. It really isn't, right? I think about people that I admire, the people that are lazy and complacent and have those excuses. I'm in awe. I'm in awe of their ignorance. I'm in awe of the fact that they are happy and they don't know what a regret is, right? So in this conversation tonight, I encourage you not to get rid of your excuses, but to add more excuses onto it, right? Actually make it a goal. Like, how many excuses can I come up for this week as to why I didn't take care of myself? Let's just go with that one. I didn't have time. It was easier for me to eat chocolate for breakfast, all these different things. Let's maybe think about a way to have more excuses and tolerate more and see how much we can take before we explode. I like that. What do you guys think? Like, having so many excuses and feeling so overwhelmed, you think you're going to explode. Like, picture this. You ever put a hot dog in a microwave for too long? If you haven't, you need to go do it. Go out to the store, get you some hot dogs, put a hot dog in the microwave for like fucking 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Put a hot dog in the microwave for 20 minutes and then aspire to do that to your brain. By overthinking, by taking on so much and being super nice to everybody and let them take advantage of you, because that way you won't have you can have the excuse to say, you know what, I never achieved my true potential because I was always taking care of everybody else and I never loved myself. All right. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have more excuses in our life. So to kind of recap, just this initial phase of what we're talking about tonight, fuck the purpose. Right? My purpose is to have a good time. My purpose is to piss people off. My purpose is to try to get away with shit that maybe I shouldn't get away with. My mindset mastery, maybe I don't need to be as diligent and disciplined with life, right? You see people that are smoking and drinking and they live until their 80s and 90s, but yet some people take care of themselves and die early. So I think the thing is, why try? Why bother trying? Right? Let's go with that theme. Because when we tie that in with the excuses, it gets exhausting trying to eliminate your excuses. It gets exhausting to be disciplined, right? I think it'd be much easier just to be lazy, complacent, mediocre. Let's go with that. So outside of that, the next quadrant we have is commitment, right? And I firmly believe that when you ditch your commitment to things, that's where the happiness comes in. Because when I look at people who aren't committed, they seem pretty fucking happy. They're blaming people. They've got their excuses. They don't have any mindset mastery. They don't think they can do it. And they seem pretty happy. They might be living off the government. They might be living off their parents. They might be doing the absolute least that they need to do in order to survive. And so their commitment level is low, which is cool. So when their commitment level is low, their results are low. So think about this. If you don't try, let's go with this. If you don't try, if you don't have a why and you don't have mindset mastery, then you don't have to be disappointed. Ooh. Let's think about that. You know, if I don't have to try anything, if I don't have to take any risks, if I don't have to take any responsibility, I don't have to ever be disappointed. How fucking cool is that? Right? And if I'm not getting results, then I don't have to worry about having passion, right? Passion's overrated. What the fuck do I need passion for? I need passion to have sex. I need passion to play video games. I need passion to eat a pint of ice cream. You need passion to eat a pint of ice cream, right? I think about that. I think I'm going to eat a pint of ice cream after this. And so if I don't have any commitment, I don't have any results, I don't need any passion, then I don't have to worry about fulfillment. I don't have to worry about being fulfilled. My fulfillment is trying to get away with the least amount of work and investment and commitment and responsibility as possible so that I can still be happy. It doesn't take much. I mean, play some video games, eat some hot dogs, don't burn them in the microwave, by the way. Yeah, I mean, you think about that, because when we have commitment, then we get the results, and then we have passion because we're getting the results and we're getting the validation that we're doing things, and then we have that fulfillment. So let's just strike that all from the record and just say, nope, let's not have commitment. Let's continue on with the no excuses and the lack of mindset mastery, because if I'm so busy trying to take care of my dog, then I won't ever have time to worry about reading a book or listening to a book or going to therapy or anything else like that. So the next quadrant is accountability, right? So let's think about this, right? So many people are big about accountability. Like, I got to be accountable to myself. I got to be accountable to my kids. I got to be accountable to the world. I got to be accountable to my boss. Let's think about just getting rid of accountability altogether and saying, how does that feel? How does that feel to not feel accountable? Oh my God, Jesus Christ, Chris, I'd love to go back to being 6 years old. The only thing I got to be accountable for is, you know, I guess fucking making boogers and whatever, right? Accountability is way overrated. So maybe we strike accountability off, because without accountability, then we don't have to ever worry about wanting certainty. Right? If I don't want certainty in my life, then I'm okay with the ambiguity and the uncertainty of not taking that responsibility for myself, not taking that accountability for myself, not having that passion, not having that discipline. So if I'm not worried about certainty, then I sure shit don't have to worry about significance. Right? Who wants to be significant? Significance is overrated. Oh, Jesus Christ. You know, I used to think I was pretty significant in people's lives. But lately I've been thinking, you know what? Significance is bullshit. Like, who really fucking cares what Chris thinks? Right? We're all a bunch of goons on this planet, hoping, wishing, and praying that something changes and makes us happy. I think happiness is probably super elusive, right? Is happiness real? Or is that just something we always strive for? Because I find so many people seem happy being unhappy because there's a lot of unhappy people in the world. And it, again, goes back to that discipline. Again, it goes back to that blaming. They seem happy because they're blaming everybody else, so they don't have to take the responsibility for their life, so they don't ever have to be disappointed. And they could just go through and trudge through and say, you know, Chris, this is just the way I am. And I think about that. Maybe if I just did that and said, you know what, God, source, universe, this is just the way I am. I'm sorry you gave me this opportunity to have this thing called life. I'm sorry you gave me this opportunity to have this thing called free will. I'm sorry you gave me this opportunity to choose and pick the people I have in my life that if they're conducive to my happiness and my success. But I kind of like the idea of being able to hang around a bunch of fuck ups and not have to worry about striving. I think about that. Like, so I don't have to have significance. And if I don't have to be important or make anybody proud, then I don't have that. Again, I don't have that responsibility. And I don't have that disappointment. I don't have that letdown because I don't have to try. Because, you know, if we try once or twice, that should be good enough, right? Like when you think about it, I tried to lose weight once, Chris. I like the sound of that rather than saying, you know what, if you didn't do it, then you should probably find different ways to try. Maybe that's exhausting. Maybe it's easier to take health for granted and then take pills later on and then die early, because then you don't have to worry about getting old and realizing the regrets of your life that you didn't live. That makes sense? I like that. Because without significance, the big thing you guys have heard me talk about on the show is legacy. Now, I mean, when you think about that, when you really tear that apart, what the hell is legacy? How important is legacy? Like, really? Legacy is a tombstone. Christopher Rausch, he was a caring father, 1969 to 2000, whatever. Right? So when you think about that certainty and significance and legacy, if we just throw that all out the window, along with having more excuses, along with blaming, along with not quantifying our success with results, maybe that's the key to the kick-ass life. Maybe that's the key. Maybe we've had it all wrong. Maybe motivation and inspiration have been all wrong this time, and that we should be striving. Who could be more complacent? Who could be more mediocre? Who can have more excuses? Who can have more addictions? Right? I'm addicted to alcohol and to food and to gambling and to sex and to shopping. That sounds fun. Like, rather than giving up our addictions, perhaps having more addictions, having less certainty, like living like a rock star. That's what it is. That's what we could talk about now. I talk about being a rock star here on the show so many times, but let's talk about it in a different way. Maybe to be numb, this is it. Let's think about this. Let's go this. Maybe to be numb all of our life is the goal, rather than to have the clarity and the awareness and the ambition, right? If we let go of that, then I think it's easier to be complacent. I think it's easier to deal with the uncertainty. Like, just, it is what it is, Chris. It is what it is, whatever. What's up, Daniel Hall? Tuning into a very special program tonight, buddy. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, man. It's me and Daniel are on the Owl app. I believe that's where we're from. He says, here lies a man that learned to reciprocate kindness by failing often. Oh man, you're talking about motivation. We're not talking about motivation tonight. This is a special show. April Fools. There might be a theme to this tonight, the way I'm going. It's kind of fun, actually. It's kind of fun. You know, we're throwing motivation and inspiration out the window. We're giving ourselves excuses tonight, Daniel. We're giving ourselves excuses. We're allowing ourselves to be complacent. We're allowing ourselves to blame other people. We're allowing ourselves not to have passion and not to have a clear vision. We're allowing ourselves to have addictions, and we're allowing ourselves to be complacent and mediocre. Yeah, that's where we're going tonight. I like that. And so in the third quadrant of my coaching, which I was talking about just a minute, Daniel, I think you just tuned in. The third quadrant of my coaching normally talks about responsibility. And I've said that a few times already here in this program already. Why did they switch all my shit up? Oh, there it is. I was looking for my time. So in the quadrant of responsibility, the first thing I talk about is being a victim or being a victor. And so oftentimes we think, okay, I got to strive to be the victor. I got to be the better person. I can't let my circumstances dictate what my outcomes are going to be, because I'm stronger and I'm better than that. But thinking about this new line of reasoning on this special day, in the special episode of the Raw Unscripted show, I'm going to say, let's advocate for being a victim. Let's advocate for being a victim, because I've seen so many victims in my life, and it seems to be pretty fucking easy for them to be a victim. So if we're thinking about being a victim, again, we don't have to take that responsibility to change. The thing about being a victim is we don't have to deal with the pain, which is something I haven't mentioned on this particular episode right now, is so oftentimes we're trying to avoid the pain. But how about if we just bring more pain into the equation? Because then we can have more excuses. Then we can have more addictions. We can coast through life and then ultimately die with those regrets anyway. What do you guys think about that? I like that. So Daniel says here, I think he might be a little confused. So your show is about failing often and being okay with it. Yeah, you know, it's actually about being a victim. It's about having the excuses. It's about not having a vision. I'll give you a hint, Daniel. It's April Fool's Day, if you haven't tuned into the show. So we're having a little fun with motivation because I'm doing the complete opposite of what normally I tell people to do. And I thought, you know what, maybe if I do a complete opposite, maybe the person that's listening to that may just hear it in a funny enough way that they actually think, you know what, Chris, now I get it. So that's kind of what we're going with, just in case you guys weren't in on the joke. So again, with that responsibility quadrant, if I get to be a victim, then the thing I don't need to have is discipline. And discipline is hard, man. I got fucking muscles. That takes discipline. I'm 56 years old. I just went to the gym 2 hours ago. That took discipline. And discipline is exhausting because I see people without discipline. I see them looking unhealthy. I see them taking their medications. I see them still eating at the buffet. And I think, man, if I could only aspire to do that. And what does that take? That just takes giving up on yourself. That just takes saying, you know what? It's okay to be a sloth. It really is. It's okay it's even this. Let's think about this. Rather than trying to make people proud of us, again, going back to that significance, maybe if we don't worry about that anymore, fuck what other people think. If I want to be a sloth, I could be a sloth. It's not up to me to inspire you. Maybe, not having that discipline, maybe allowing ourselves to create more pain in our life rather than clarity, rather than purpose, rather than legacy, maybe allowing that pain to wash over us and to give us those excuses will be a great way for us to be happier, right? Because it seems to be working for a lot of people. I see a lot of people out there who are, who tell me they don't have the discipline, who tell me they have tried those things before. Chris, I've tried to lose weight. It didn't work. I'm like, how many times did you try? I've tried 10 times. It gets tiring saying, you know what, if you did it the 11th time, but you did it a little bit different way, and you had a bigger vision and you had a bigger community of people in your life that would support you and not allow you to think negatively about yourself, maybe that's the thing that would get you over the edge, right? Because so oftentimes we're looking for leverage in our life. We're looking for leverage. How do you move a big rock with a really long stick and a lot of leverage? But if you have a short stick, you don't have that leverage and that rock's not going to move. And perhaps that's okay. Perhaps that's okay because I think, can you imagine a world where everybody, maybe let's say everybody except for 5% of the population, that everybody did the things that I used to talk about having the clear vision, about having the discipline, about having the legacy, about having the mindset mastery, about having the passion and the fulfillment and the recognition for your own self. Can you imagine if the world thought like that? Oh my God. There would be a lot of happy people in the world. There would be a lot of people that would actually be doing shit to make the world better rather than contributing it to making it a worse place. And maybe that's the thing about life. Maybe all of us who have been striving and bettering ourselves and not being a product of our environments, maybe we have it all wrong. Maybe we're the ones that the joke is on. Because ultimately, when I think about this whole conversation, where I'm going with this, is that integrity. What does our integrity say? I just had my group coaching clients do this values exercise, and I did it also. And I gave them a list of like 113 values. And I said, okay, here's the deal. You have to pick 5 values that you value the most, and then you have to order those in order of importance. And so when I gave them that exercise, I gave it to them over Zoom, and their faces were like, ooh. And so when I checked in with them a week later, we meet twice a month. I checked with them a week later. I said, how you guys doing with that? And everybody came back on the chat and said, fuck, Chris, this is a lot harder than I thought. Right? So it's about that integrity component of life. Having integrity with yourself. If we let that go, all the other parts that I've talked about tonight, the excuses, we could have more excuses without integrity. We could have more complacency without integrity. We could have more blaming without integrity. We could have a lot more ease in our life if we didn't have integrity. And I think could be one of the key components of whether or not this conversation makes sense to you tonight. Because when I think about integrity, I think about keeping my word. I think about setting myself to a higher standard. And in the joke of the conversation tonight, talking about it being April Fool's, I think you guys caught on to it by now, that there's so much absurdity in what I'm saying and going into the contrary of what I normally talk about, that it feels gross for me even to joke about it. It makes it, because I thought about, what can I do for April 1st episode? And I thought it would be kind of funny to give people the bad advice, to give people the wrong advice. Because so oftentimes I'm pushing people and I'm like, are you going to regret this? Are you going to do, what were you made for? Da, 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 da. And I thought about it in a funny kind of way. Maybe I'm the one that's got it all wrong. And somebody said it to me like this, and this really kind of impacted me. And this is actually in all seriousness. I saw somebody sent me this TikTok, thing that was like 3 minutes long. And it talked about, you're going to die someday. And to be perfectly honest with you guys, in all fairness to the conversation tonight, I'm being serious. I think about death a lot. And I think about, I'm 56 years old. And I'm thinking, okay, I do the math sometimes. And I think, okay, average life expectancy is 78, da, 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 da. I take care of myself, but cancer's right in my family, blah, 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 all these different things. And so the idea of not having regrets when I die is very, very powerful. To think and to know that I'm using my voice and my actions every single day to make this world a better place gives me a charge. And so the lunacy of talking about having more excuses and all that stuff, it pains me, because there are so many people out there that feel that way, that they don't want to push themselves, that they don't want to take those risks. They don't want to set themselves up for disappointment. They don't want to disappoint other people. And so when I looked at this video, it really caused me to take a look back, because it talked about, okay, one day you're going to die. And when you die, there's going to be planning and there's going to be preparation. And people are going to think back on the life of Christopher Rausch and how did he impact me? And da, 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 and people will gather together and they'll talk about me. And, we have our funerals and we have eulogies and whatnot. People will be distraught, especially my son and my wife, probably the biggest people that are going to be distraught. But ultimately, in a couple of weeks, life is going to take on a new sense of normalcy. In a couple of months, that normalcy will have continued. In a year, oh my God, Dad's been dead a year. And then all of a sudden it's 5 years. My mom's been dead for 12 years. I still think about her quite often. Didn't have the greatest relationship. Still miss her. But the fact is that life does move on. And that's kind of the scary thing, is that, we may be forgotten someday. And so maybe it is easier to let go and to not strive for all those things, so that, because at the end of the day, are we really going to be remembered? And here's where I get serious with you. I think back on some of the people in my life, and even though they've been gone for 30 years, I can still hear their voice in my head, because they set themselves up to set themselves apart from the status quo. They had integrity, they had values, they had a mission. They didn't give themselves excuses. And so when we think about the conversation tonight, what is it going to be for you? Are you already on that road to bettering yourself? Or have you shown up and listened to 309 episodes of the show before and got, man, I'm really inspired, but you keep doing the same shit over and over again, expecting different results? And so when I think about this, let's run back through this in the positive way, right? So I feel like I owe you that. What's up, Dennis Nermella? In the house. What's up, man? Appreciate you. He says, Dennis says, hello from China, brother. Keep up the good work. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all you guys, whether you're tuning in live on the video cast or you're watching the video cast on replay, or of course you're listening on the audio podcast. Thank you so much. So let's take this coaching diagram. This is dead serious. This is how I coach. This is basically the framework and the structure of that. So let's walk through this in the positive, so that we can actually end the show in the intention that I normally do it, which is to get you to think a little bit different about your past, present, and your future, to realize that no matter what you've been through in your life, you have the power. You have the choice. You have the free will to change your life. And it will not be easy. And it will not be overnight. It's taken you, in my case, 56 years to get to the spot. It's taken you 43 years. It's taken you 37 years. It's taken you 72 years, wherever it is that you might be on your journey. Give yourself a break, but have this mindset. Have a curious mindset. Have an adventurous mindset, because we had that as kids. Right? No kid is not born without any sense of curiosity and adventure and wonderment, but the adults beat the shit out of us. Get your head out of the clouds. You got to be realistic, blah, 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 all these different things. They ruin that for us. So when I think about my thing, and here I'll share it with you guys again for those of you guys just tuning in or maybe didn't see it before. This is what I call my genius model. And so here we in again, right here in the middle, the kick-ass guide to life. We've got purpose, we've got mindset mastery, we've got no excuses right in the inner quadrant. On the outside of that, we have commitment, which is results, passion, and fulfillment. We have accountability, which is certainty, significance, and legacy. And then the last quadrant, we have victim or victor, discipline, and integrity, which is part of the responsibility matrix. So how about this? Here's the kick-ass guide to life. It's a sweet spot. What does that take? Be in all seriousness, for me, and foremost, it takes purpose. When you have purpose in your life, when you have a clear picture of how you want to be remembered, who you want to be remembered for, again, going back to the values, what were Christopher's values? He valued authenticity. He valued honesty. He valued transparency. He valued hard work. He valued sacrifice. He valued discipline. Right. So in my purpose, I wrote my eulogy, which I encourage everybody to do. I have all my coaching clients do it. So my purpose here is to fight for what's right and what's fair, risk for which that mattered, and leave the earth a better place for who I was and what I did. So that's my purpose. With my purpose, it has also got to include mindset mastery. And you're never going to be a master, but as long as you're striving to become a little bit better every single day, and I call it the 1% rule, as long as you're trying 1%, right? When I think about it, is 1% reasonable? Is 1% achievable? Yes, it is. So as long as I'm achieving and applying and going for that mindset mastery, when I have a negative thought, to be able to say, you know what, that's a very interesting thought, but I choose to think about it in this way. And you redirect your thought patterns to be more positive. And I will be fucking honest with you guys. The last couple of weeks, I've been going through this weird funk where my mindset mastery has not been the greatest. And I share that with you because, again, what did I just say? I value transparency. I don't always have it all figured out, but I strive. And I remember my mission and my passion and my purpose is to fight for what's right and what's fair, blah, 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 blah. Keep that all within myself. So that even if I have a moment where my mindset mastery is not the greatest, can I pick that back up? And so that's why I went to the gym later this afternoon. I wasn't going to go. And I was like, you know what? I know when I go to the gym, just by going there and getting a workout in, I feel better about myself because I kept my promise to myself. Because one of the things in this world is to stay alive, to see my son have kids of his own and be a granddad, and to continue making a big significant impact in this world in a positive way. So I got to have that mindset mastery. And again, that leads to no excuses. I was having fun earlier talking about the more excuses we have, the more blame we have, the easier it is. But really, what is your excuse? Like, let's think about this for a second. What is my excuse right now? My excuse, a lot of people tell me they don't have time. And I'm like, where can you come up with an hour a day? And I pretty much always find it. And I find it's because you're tolerating shit from other people or shit from yourself that you don't have that hour a day, right? What could you do for an hour a day to build your business? That's, if there's 365 days in a year, if you just do the 1 hour, that's 365 hours. How much have you dedicated? Right? Is it possible for you to find 2 hours on the weekend? How are you able to compound that time investment to change what it is that you've been doing and focusing on in order to change what it is that you get? So what are your excuses? I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have knowledge. I had somebody actually ask me the other day how to get healthier. And I'm like, Google it and continue to try new shit for the next fucking 6 months and keep your promise to yourself. Like, if you plan on losing 20 pounds, lose the 20 pounds. Oh my God, man, I've been trying to lose 20 pounds for 30 years. And I'm like, okay, here's an example of what I mean by leverage. What's your favorite car? If you had your dream car given to you for free, what would it be? Oh, a Ferrari, a Porsche, a Lamborghini, whatever it might be. I fucking hear it all the time. And I said, okay, so if I challenge you to lose 20 pounds in 1 month, and I said, if you lose 20 pounds, when you lose 20 pounds in 1 month, I will give you that car. No taxes, no strings attached. I give you the keys to the Ferrari Testarossa. I give you the keys to the Lamborghini Countach. I give you the keys to the Alfa Romeo, whatever it is for you. Would you lose 20 pounds in a month? I'll give you time to think about that. Yes, you would. And everybody that I've ever asked that question to or given that scenario to immediately says, yes, I would. And I'm like, so you just got through telling me you've been trying to lose 20 pounds for 30 years. What changed? What changed is your leverage. So oftentimes we don't give ourselves the right leverage. Oh, I'm going to lose 20. we sit there and we think we want it, but then we got to sit there and say, what is the reward for me doing this? Longevity, not taking medications, not having regrets with my health, being a positive, healthy force for my grandkids, for my kids, for my college students, whatever it might be for you. So when you think about that, you would do it. I had somebody tell me not too long ago they couldn't work with me because they couldn't afford it. And I said, okay, how about this? I said, who's the person you love the most in your life? And they said, my son. And I said, how old's your son? My son's 9. I said, what's your son's name? Nathan. I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being absolute, would you take a bullet for Nathan? Yes, a 10. I'm like, okay, cool. If I asked you, or if I challenged you to come up with $10,000 in the next 7 days, and it can't be illegal, immoral, or unethical, or I'm going to blow your son's brains out. Sorry, I have to go dark. Would you do it? The person, and anybody I've ever asked this question of, immediately responds, yes, I would do whatever it takes. I'm all, but you just got through telling me 5 minutes ago that you couldn't afford $10,000. So what changed? The leverage. So in order for you to have less excuses, you have to have more leverage. And so the way we get more leverage is we increase our commitment. Like, what's your commitment right now to your health lifestyle? What's your commitment? Well, really be honest, and you can't pick 7. Oh, it's about a 6. It's a 5 or 6. Most people are a 4, 5, and a 6. Well, I do pretty good. I try to go to the gym. I try to get my walk. I try to drink my water. I try to get better sleep. I try to da. So in this thing we're talking about, my genius model right here. So let's increase our commitment. Can you increase your commitment by 10% over the next 30 days? Yes or no? If you're listening to this, there's got to be a reason why you're listening to this. So I'm going to increase my commitment by 10%, Chris. I'm going to focus on getting better exercise. I'm going to focus on eating better. I'm going to focus on getting better sleep. I'm going to focus on drinking my water. I'm going to focus on getting a vitamin deficiency test and seeing where I might be deficient in vitamins, which might be impeding my ability to think clearly. Oh my God, I'm going to increase my commitment by 10%, which then means you're going to get results. And studies show when you start getting results in your life, you start getting charged up by it. Start losing a few pounds. Fuck, I'm losing a few pounds. People are saying, oh my God, you're looking better. I'm able to fit in my 34s instead of my 36s. Blah, blah, blah. After the results, you have passion, right? Because you're sitting there seeing it and you're like, man, I can do this. I'm doing this for the first time in my life. I'm actually doing this. Geez, what else do I need to do to continue to keep doing this in order for me to be successful? So we have the results, we have the passion, then we get the fulfillment. And the fulfillment is what drives us sometimes when we have that disappointment. Because I'm sitting there, I'm getting fulfilled. I get fulfilled by watching you guys on Zoom or working with people in person, and me saying something in such a way that you go, holy shit, fuck, dude, I didn't even think about that. I never understood that. Right. So then you have the fulfillment. Again, going over here to accountability. Right. If I asked you to increase that commitment to yourself, that accountability, what does that do? That increases your chances of certainty. You know what? If I continue to eat better and I continue to go into the gym and I continue to remove toxic people from my life, I get more certainty because I'm in control. I'm the one making the decisions. I'm the one deciding whether or not down here I'm going to be a victim or a victor, right? This all interchanges with itself. I could tell you this 7 different ways that all make sense. So thank you to my coach, Sally Anderson, for helping me create this. So again, when you think about that certainty, you have significance. And there's a lot of people out there that don't feel significant. They don't feel significant with themselves. And they try to pretend that they're significant in front of other people. We crave that validation. We crave that approval, right? And I've learned in my life, when I chose to be significant for making a difference in people's lives, my own bar, my own measurement increased. And so sometimes people would look at significance as ego or conceitedness or whatever. No, I choose to be significant so that when my day comes, whether it's tomorrow or 20 years from now, whatever it might be, that you guys all gather around and say, you know what, fucking Chris made me think about it. Chris made me think about it. Chris made me think about my excuses. Chris made me think about my level of commitment. Chris challenged me. And because he challenged me, I grew to be the person that I was always supposed to be. Right. And it goes back to this legacy. So again, what legacy are you doing? And here's a great question you can ask yourself in those moments of indecision, like today you're about to do something bad. Will my future self be proud of this? Will I be proud of this decision tomorrow? Right? When you think about that, you had 1 cookie, but you're thinking about having 7 more cookies, which sometimes I do. Is tomorrow's Chris going to be happy with this? Is it going to be worth it for me to spend another hour on my cardio to burn off the 7 cookies when I could have just had 1? All right, put the rest of the cookies back. That takes that discipline. That takes that sense of integrity. That takes the values, right? I keep my promises to myself. If you get nothing out of the conversation tonight, do this. Keep your promises to yourself. Make promises and keep them. I know people that don't make promises to themselves because then they don't have to be disappointed. They don't have to push. They don't have to try. They don't have to be frustrated and all those different things. And so going to the last quadrant, responsibility. I've said that word so many times tonight because it's very, very important. When you blame somebody else, you give up your responsibility, right? When you play the victim, right, where it says right here, victim or victor, when you get responsibility in your life, you take accountability in your life, you have a vision in your life, you're no longer a victim. Why should you be a victim to what your parents thought about you? Why should you be a victim of what your teacher thought about you? Why should you be a victim of the bully who said something to you 30 years ago? You're allowing that person space in your head. You get to choose that. So how about this? How about taking responsibility for your fucking life? Because it is your life, ladies and gentlemen, and be a victor. What can I do today by which doing so will allow me to feel a little sense of victory? What can I do? Can I buy somebody a hamburger? Can I say hi to somebody? Can I listen to somebody? Right? Can I make a donation to a charity? Can I do something where I feel like I'm a victor, like I'm helping be a part of the solution and not part of the problem? Which is something I haven't talked about tonight. It's a very simple concept. Ask yourself, am I a part of the problem or am I part of the solution? In whatever it might be. Or am I blaming the government? Am I giving my power away to other people to choose my destiny by filling my head up with excuses that really are bullshit? Because when you have the resources, when you have the leverage, you will change. I've already proven that tonight. And that goes to that discipline, right? In the next little square over here, responsibility equals discipline. And I will tell you this, that when you keep your promises to yourself, and you say, hey, you know what? Over the next 30 days, I'm not going to have any sugar. I'm not going to have any caffeine. I'm not going to have any alcohol. I'm not going to have any cigarettes. And then every single day, no matter how hard it is, you do it. On the other side of those things is an amazing life. And I've seen so many people give up their addictions, no matter what they are, whether they're physical addictions, they're emotional addictions, they're chemical addictions. And I've done that for myself. I used to be a huge drinker. Now I barely even drink. I crave the clarity. I crave waking up and being solid for my kid, for being solid for my wife and not doing embarrassing shit. So that discipline again leads over here to integrity. So what is it going to be for you guys? What is it going to be for you? For Dennis and for Robert and for Daniel and for all the other people that are watching that haven't commented yet, or the people that are listening, what is it going to be for you? You know, I started this episode tonight, tongue in cheek, talking about, trying to give you guys all the wrong advice. It felt gross for me to do it because I so much believe in the power of choice. I believe that there are moments in your life, there are windows in your life where somebody like myself may say something in such a way that you can take that as your truth. You could take it as your truth. I'm looking at something here that my friend gave me years ago. It says, here's the thing about life. You only get one, so get out there and be amazing. Again, the reality of the situation, and I hate to be dark, but it helps me, is we're all going to die one day. And it's going to be a lot sooner than you think. I'm 56 and it blows my mind. And I used to say age is just a number. And for some reason, it's really impacted me. And it inspires me so much not to take time for granted and not to allow toxic people into my life. I just had to I wish them emotionally well in my brain. I haven't had that conversation with them. I don't think they're on my team anymore for whatever reason that might be. And that's okay. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And sometimes you think people that are going to be there for a lifetime are there for a season or a reason, right? And it's up to us whether or not we tolerate those people in our life, whether we sit there and go, oh, I wonder what I did and da-da-da-da. Maybe that relationship just ran its course. Maybe that thinking about yourself, maybe that desire, that need to have that person's validation, or maybe we don't need that anymore because what we get from ourselves is enough. So you have to be there for yourself. But paramount in your successes, you need the right people in your life that are there supporting you, that are having these conversations with you. They're saying, hey, Jack, hey, Daniel, hey, Robert, maybe stop thinking that way. Maybe give yourself a break. Maybe it's not your fault. And I know for all of us, we want to know it's going to be okay. Everything's going to work out okay. But it only works out really okay if we make that deliberate intention every single day to become and to be that person that the world wants us, that the world deserves us to be, not wants us to be, but deserves us to be. Right? I have a good time when I go to the grocery store and I make somebody smile or I make somebody think in just the few minutes that I'm standing there making the transaction. I get a gas out of saying hi to somebody who's walking down the street and say, hey, have a great day. Or asking somebody, so how's your day going? And actually listening and being there for them and being there with them in those moments, especially the people that we love. So what is it going to be for you out of this conversation? What's the one thing that you're going to start changing differently tomorrow? Are you going to start journaling? Are you going to start getting up and getting some morning sunshine? Are you going to get up and maybe spend 20 minutes listening to some positive content to start your day? Are you going to have a bucket list and sit there and say, you know what, over the next 365 days, I'm going to make it a point to accomplish 2 things on my bucket list. What are the things that I need to do? How do I need to sacrifice? How do I need to make extra money? How can I use my side hustle to make extra money to have this bucket list experience? Because if I told you only had 2 weeks to live, you'd probably figure out a way to do some of those bucket list items. It's the truth. We all do that. But sadly, we think we're going to live forever and we're going to have all these different moments, but we're not. So the reason why you're listening to this tonight or today, wherever it is that you might be, is just that amount of leverage for you to start thinking differently about your life, to give up your excuses, to be more real with yourself, to be honest with yourself, to be honest with the people in your life. Because if you're miserable at your job and you haven't said anything, or if you're miserable at your house and you haven't said anything, or if you're miserable with one of your friends and you haven't said anything, that's on you. You can't blame them. Well, they make me feel like this. No. You allow them. And you encourage it because you haven't said anything. And that conversation may be fucked up and it may suck and it may not go in your direction. But on the other side of that conversation, you'll know where you stand. And maybe, just maybe, because I've seen this with a lot of people, when they open their mouth and they say that they're frustrated or they say that they're not getting something, that other person doesn't realize it and they can change it. So think about this. If you open your mouth and you start getting some things changing in your life and you start taking better care of yourself and you start being more honest with yourself and authentic and having integrity and values, how much different can your life be in 3 months, 6 months, a year? You could be doing this yourself and having a podcast and helping other people, or becoming a professional speaker, or writing a book, or being a great dad, a great husband, a great friend. Maybe giving your life a lot more meaning and purpose than you have been, because it's hard and it's uncomfortable. So I hope from this conversation tonight that I have gotten through to you somehow, whether it's with humor, whether it's sarcasm, or whether it's just from my heart, because this is my purpose. My purpose is to share myself with you guys every single week so that you start to change and we can inspire that change in the world and we can make this world a better place for our kids, because I'm worried about what our kids are growing up with right now. I'm worried about the households that they're growing up in and the hate and the anger and the divisiveness and those people are stupid and creating that mental picture for our kids. And I believe our kids are going to be the one that's going to disrupt all of it. So thank you guys for being here. Please share this out if you got value out of it, which I know you did. And let's talk about next week. As per your guys' request, I'm doing a hell of a lot more solo shows. I've already done probably more solo shows this year than I did all of last year. But it doesn't mean to say that I don't have some pretty amazing guests coming up. And I think I'm more better. Where is it? Pardon me, apologies. I normally have this information more readily available, but I think we're doing a coaching next week. No, actually, you know what? Next week, I think what we might be doing, and you want to tune in for this, whether you're female or male, is I'm going to do a 3-part series. It's called a Men's Mental Health Roundtable. I've done them before, but I've never done a 3-part series. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 3-part series. So show up here again next Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Show up and bring some questions. Let's have a conversation about men's mental health. Obviously, you ladies out there, I would encourage your men to join in and tune into this or listen to this, because it's something that's been on my heart and my mind for a while. Most of my coaching clients are women, but I have the occasional guys asking out there like, dude, you're a tough dude, and you're also in touch with your emotions, and you're this and you're that, and that you could be an inspiration for other men. So let's do that. Let's do a 3-part series on men's mental health. Women show up so you can understand us a little bit better. I'll have some guests on here, some guest men who are important in my life. Let's do that. All right. So I thank you guys for tuning in. It's been an amazing experience with you guys. Happy April Fool's Day. I hope the joke wasn't lost on you about motivation and inspiration. And make sure you go to rawandunscripted.com, subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast out. I would love and appreciate you guys. And then also send me an email, info@noexcusescoach.com. Send me an email and say, hey, Chris, one of your solo episodes, I'd love for you to talk about this, or I'd love for you to talk about that, because I do take your suggestions, I write them down, and then I create shows around that experience. So thank you guys all for being here. Thank you for being a part of my life. I'm going to go enjoy my family now, and I'll see you here next week on the Raw Unscripted Show. Peace.